GP Indianapolis. Hello and welcome back to coverage here at GP Indianapolis. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe. I'm in the booth with Kenji Egashira, and we're all set for round 3 action where we've got Owen Turtenwald, William Huey Jensen, and Reed Duke. That's right, the Peach Guard Note, the PGO themselves. They're in the feature match area at 2-0 versus Daniel Lee, Brian Rowland, and Li-Rolen-Lillard. And we're going to start things off here with the O-Rat, Owen Turtenwald. He's playing against Daniel Lee on the top part of the table. We just had the deck list arrive here, Kenji. Have you had a chance to look yet?
Just very, very briefly, it looks like we have Lee on the right there. He's playing some Merfolk, as Blue-Green normally does. Remember, this is team sealed, so you're probably going to see those factions a lot more clearly than you would in normal draft or sealed.
That's right. I can tell you that Owen, as you can see from the Bishop Soldier there, is on white-black vampires, or at least a white-black deck of some sort. Let's see, 2 Dusk Legion Zealot, an Impale, 2 Moment of Craving, a Recover, a Voracious Vampire. Yeah, it looks like he's on the Vampires deck here, so we'll see how his game plan ends up coming together. There's a Dusk Legion Zealot now for Turtenwald. That's going to have him lose a life, but draw cards, keep things flowing. And, of course, it is a vampire as well, so a relevant creature type, Kenji.
Yeah, I think it's just a very, very good 2-drop. This format has a bunch of 2-drops. A lot of them have 1 toughness, and the fact that Dusk Legion Zealot can trade away with those while also getting you another card is just great. We saw Martin Yuza with a very, very powerful Vampires deck in one of the previous rounds. I know we didn't get to cover it, but we were watching it, and we saw things like Twilight Prophet and Maverick Fane, but not sure if Owen has quite that power level that that Martin had. Daniel on a very slow start, though, for the Merfolk deck. Normally you want to curve out sometimes even a 1-drop, 2-drop into a 3-drop. It looks like he just had a Jadecraft Artisan as the first play of the game.
Yeah, this isn't great. A Kitesail Corsair is a fine follow-up, but it's a little late to the game. What else does he have here?
Just some 2-drops now on turn 5. Slightly awkward, but at least he's developing out his board.
Yeah, Hardy Veteran is added to the board as well, which is, again, these are both fine 2-drops, but he wanted these on turns 2 and 3.
Exactly.
Yeah, the shortcut that I like to use for that, Kenji, I call it like a get-ahead, stay-ahead deck, right? It's really good at establishing a board presence and then either protecting it or advancing it. I'm talking about Merfolk decks, but not quite as good at coming from behind. A lot of tempo plays, bounce spells, and things like that don't really get the job done when you're behind. Though that said, he is able to keep chipping in on Turtenwald, but Owen's like, sure, I go to 24 here on turn 6.
Okay, this is going to be great stabilization. A Crested Herd Caller from Daniel Lee is going to give him 2 3/3s. Just one of the most powerful uncommons in the format. You get 6 power worth of trampling creatures, and it's going to give him 2 blockers. So any menace creatures like that Voracious Vampire that Owen played the previous turn, kind of going to get brick-walled. I think Voracious Vampire, one of the great 3-drops in the Vampire deck. You can get some nice 3-drops, of course, but if you're able to curve a 2-drop into Voracious Vampire, you're already ahead on board, getting in for probably at least 2 or 3 points of damage on turn 3 when you play the Voracious Vampire, pumping up one of your other creatures and giving it Menace, and then the Vampire itself having Menace for later turns.
A Golden Guardian there for Owen Turtenwald.
This card is surprisingly good. It's a great defender, as it is a defender.
But you meant it's great on defense.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
As it's just a 4/4 for 4, and it stops all of Daniel's creatures right now, except for that Kitesail Corsair, which can get in for flying. But then later in the game, should you find the time, you can transform it into the Goldforge Garrison, as you guys see there on the screen. And all you have to do is fight a few of your own creatures. Now that's kind of awkward, of course.
Yeah. One thing I note here, though, Kenji, is that he actually has the ability to do it quite simply with the Skittering Heartstopper, right? The Death Touch. Now, he would lose the Heartstopper, and he would also lose the Golden Guardian as a blocker, but it would quickly be replaced by 4/4 golems that can attack. Oh, here's Waker of the Wilds now, though, for Daniel Lee. This one's starting to shape up very interesting. Again, one of the storylines that you should keep an eye on, by the way, from a big picture perspective here, Kenji, look at the land count. Owen finally has hit his 4th land, while Daniel's been working with 5 or 6 for multiple turns.
Yeah, Owen can get a little bit cute here if he wants to, like you were mentioning the Death Touch on the Heartstopper. Well, what he can do is give it Death Touch, fight it, and then he's going to transform his Guardian, and that actually adds 2 mana Marshall. Unlike a lot of the other cards in this format that only produce 1 when they transform, this one produces 2.
And I would assume that is his long-term game plan here. But, you know, when your opponent's drawn a bunch of lands and they have Awaker of the Wilds, you have a big problem on your hand, and Owen's going to answer that first by casting Impale on it and killing it. Now, the problem here that Owen faces, though, is he actually has fallen behind. The threats have added up enough for Daniel Lee where he's cracking in with 2 Kitesail Corsairs for 4 per turn. And that is really adding up. You're going to add up quickly against Turtenwald, even if he starts making an army of 4/4s. You know, this is the kind of situation where a well-timed pump spell or some +1/+1 counters could really get out of hand. There's a Soul of the Tides as well.
Looks like Owen's just attacking it with the hard stop here. Maybe turning on some raid, realizing he might want to get in for a few points of damage. Soul of the Rapids,
yeah, is another flying blocker that he can do. I wonder if Owen's still going to fight anyway. Yeah, he's going to fight it. I think this was just a free roll attack for him because he still wants to get his Golden Guardian transformed, but he thought, well, if I can get a free damage out of it, that's fine.
Precisely.
So he transforms it, and as you mentioned before, the land that it becomes, it's Goldforge Garrison, it actually taps for 2 mana of any one color, which could be handy for Owen, who stumbled a bit on his mana. But, you know, plan A is to just start pumping out 4/4s as quickly as you can.
I think in this position, though, it's going to be a little bit too slow to pump out those 4/4s, although we saw one of the best removal spells in this format. Moment of Craving is going to take care of one of those Kitesail Corsairs, but Daniel still has 5 flying damage in the air every turn.
And 3 blockers on the ground as the board. Uh-oh. River Herald's Boon. Does he have any Merfolk left? No. Well, he can still use it to put a +1/+1 counter on something.
And that's great because Owen's biggest creatures are just 2/2/2s, so he can still get a 2 for 2 here. Well, even better since the Herd Caller produced out another 3/3 Trampler, so it's still going to end up in his favor here. And I like this move by Daniel. You know, even though he's down nearly half the life total of Owen, he realizes he should just continue to be aggressive here. Oh, it looks like he had crashed the ramparts,
he has
though.
Both. That is a beating. And I wonder if he wants to use River Herald's Boon as well during this combat. You know, you want to get that counter on something and get it hitting as many times as possible because it's unlikely at this point that the +1/+1 counter on its own is going to matter in combat, given that Owen's board has been decimated. But at any rate, that was a massive swing in Daniel Lee's favor, and I don't think that even the Garrison is going to be able to save Turtenwald at this point. He's just fallen too far behind.
Now he's on a 2-turn air clock. He's going to need something like a Golden Demise to wipe most of Daniel's creatures and then try to get rid of the 3/3s with maybe that Golden Garrison.
That's right. That would work.
Right.
Like, I think that plan would actually work out well for Turtenwald, but Golden Demise, of course, is an uncommon. You don't always get them, and he doesn't have one in his deck. I know that's a card that you and I have been talking about a lot over the last couple of days as we were playing online and kind of comparing notes and that kind of thing, and you were a huge fan of it, and I've been playing it. I hadn't actually had a chance to play it until yesterday, and boy, did it perform. That card's great. You weren't kidding.
Well, the thing is, it just eats multiple creatures most of the time, and if you have the City's Blessing, well, then it's just going to be kind of like a mini Plague Wind, if you will, you know? It also allows you to attack your creatures into their creatures if you cast it pre-combat main phase. Problem here for Owen is that even if he had one, he would lose his Dusk Legion Zealot in the process. He doesn't have the City's Blessing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, last turn he would have been in business,
right?
Because he would have taken 6 on the crackback, but then he could have started making 1/1s in as long or 4/4s, and as long as Daniel didn't have anything to follow up, he could have stabilized. But at this point, it's pure desperation time for Turtenwald, as he's just trying to stay alive. The problem, of course, is the Soul of the Rapids and the Kitesail Corsair flying over and giving him real fits because, hey, have 24/4s. Yep. You know, as long as I can just keep on attacking in the air. You're now facing 2 lethal threats, and one of them has hexproof. I don't really see a way out for Turtenwald outside of, you know, a sweeper effect of some sort.
Well, Black-White has access to plenty of flyers, and if he has just like a moment of triumph in addition to 1 flyer, he might be able to stabilize here. I do like Daniel's last attack. You know, even though he was attacking multiple 3/3s into that 4/4, he was still getting a lot of value. Now, any one of his flying creatures is lethal against Owen.
Owen is really deciding what to do here. This is interesting. He may have something.
Okay, Squire's Devotion. That's a very good card, Marshall.
That is super important. So that's going to pump up that golem and give it lifelink. It's also going to produce another blocker on the ground. Oh, there's more?
Arterial Flow.
Yes.
Oh, and remember, he gets a vampire off of Squire's Devotion, so he's also going to get to gain 2 life here.
He's going to drain Daniel for 2, put him down to 9, put himself up to 4, make him discard, I'm assuming, his hand. Right. I think he's only got 2 cards, right?
Right. He has that boon, though, which he's probably going to cast in response.
Yeah, he's just going to cast that on something. Sure.
Makes sense to put on the hexproof creature. Now, any of those 2 power flyers can't profitably block it.
Right. Now, the interesting thing, though, is that they're not lethal, at least on their own, right?
No, he's going to be 1 short. Or actually, more than that now because of the 2 extra lifeline from the Arterial Flow.
Exactly. So here we go. Attack you. No blocks available. And we've actually got a really interesting game down the stretch.
Wow.
Little 10-point life swing. How about we trade life totals?
Now, Daniel still has some good attacks on the ground as well. His 3/3 dinosaur does have trample at the very least. So
yeah, and if Daniel draws a bounce spell or anything, it's over.
Right.
Water Trap Weaver would do it. Anything just to get that token out of the way. As it stands, he's going to attack in for 4, 7, 9, block, gain 1, go to 10, and he would be and Turtenwald would be still alive if Daniel attacked with everything. So he's going to only attack with the options that leave Turtenwald with no good options.
Oh my gosh. Now remember that land.
Is that a Direfleet Poisoner?
Yes, Marshall.
Because it makes 2 mana. Oh my. Look at Daniel. He's like, how does this thing make 2 mana? All the gold ones make 1. Wow, what a play from Turtenwald.
And that's the beauty of Direfleet Poisoner. You do not need to be a pirate deck to utilize it. It's a 2/2 flash. That's already fine in this format. It also has Death Touch, Marshall.
Exactly. Wow, getting his Ambush Viper on here and blocking the dinosaur. And he says, you know what? I'm just going to block like that because I still just go to 1. 4, 5, 6, 7. Excuse me. He goes to 2.
He goes to 2, and he still has a 5/5 life-linking golem on the back.
And he even keeps that vampire around. All right, well, Daniel Lee drew a replacement Hardy Veteran, but the problem is very real here for Daniel because there's another attack coming from this massive golem.
It's going to be a really tight race here, actually, as Daniel still puts out more damage than Owen gains.
Well, let's see what Owen has. Ixalan's Binding.
Wow. So now Daniel is forced to chump the 5/5 with his other Hardy Veteran.
And that means a 6-point life going to Owen to put him to 8. He's only facing 6 damage. And that's Profane Procession? Wow, this is insane. He looks so far behind, and he just calmly ground his way forward, and it looks like Owen may have stolen this game back. Oh, that's not good news for you, Daniel Lee.
Ugh,
Profane Procession is disgusting.
We'll be talking about this card a lot this weekend, Marshall.
Absolutely.
It's just one of the best cards in the format. It's so hard to interact with.
Oh, yeah, it's not getting any better, Daniel. You can read it again, buddy, but the news is not good. Yeah, okay, sure. I mean, and let's not forget here that if this board even were to stall, like let's say, that Daniel somehow could stabilize it, that Garrison is just going to keep pumping out 4/4s. Like, Owen has the advantage on board on all metrics at this point. Yes, the Soul of the Rapids is a little bit annoying, but he can handle it. Recover is the play from Owen Turtenwald.
He's got a bevy of goodies in his graveyard.
Yeah, let's see what he gets.
Yeah, it was the Squire's Devotion that really stole this game. And
it's Voracious Vampire. He's going to be able to give his token Menace.
Yep. And also an extra point of life gain.
Exactly.
Pumps it up as well.
But he's actually just going to end up exiling it and attacking for lethal.
Wow.
And that's going to do it. So that was Owen basically just trying to draw out a pump spell, or excuse me, a counter spell. And he had the win on the board if everything went well.
Yep.
And it did.
Marshall, you looking at the records on the top left there over there already?
No, I haven't looked at those. Let me just take a, oh God. See a lot of ones on that side of the table, Kenji. Oh, my goodness. Well, let's take a look at William Huey Jensen here as he fires off. Let's see. Water Trap Weaver holding a Pirate's Cutlass against Brian Rowland.
Oh, if life totals are accurate, though, I can't imagine those are complete. Oh, maybe Huey's actually at 4, though.
I think he actually might be. He may have been scrambling this whole entire time to try to stabilize, and he has just turned the corner to start attacking. There's a swaggering Corsair with no counter on it, and advances blasting cannons. But that's all that Brian has. Let's see what he reveals.
Oh, no! Does he draw a land for the turn? He does not.
He doesn't have a land. It's a lethal, unfriendly fire that he can't cast. And Jensen has to be saying, look, you couldn't have. You can't be slow rolling me this much. Holy smokes.
Yeah, we can see the land difference between these two players. William Huey Jensen over there on 7 right now. Brian on 4.
Well, Brian's going to go ahead and attack. He's got Sure Strike, but Jensen had blocked. Now, we didn't see any physical notification of that, but
Audible
Jensen would have said, I'll block with my Shipwreck Looter. There's a Relentless Raptor now for Brian, which is fine.
Yeah, it's definitely not bad on this board. Well,
yeah, it'll force a block at least. I mean, Jensen can simply equip and attack, and he would get rid of it, but it would be a trade, so not that bad. Jensen's going into not like this mode. This is where he's thinking about every card in his deck. He's thinking about what the most likely permutations are, and I love it. Anytime Jensen's in that mode, he's in business, so it's great. Also, he's having a quick chat with Owen or Reed here as well, which is great. Must be nice to be in the middle seat between Owen Turtenwald and Reed Duke. Hey, what would you guys do here?
Brian cast 2 spells last turn, but that Blasting Cannon's, of course, needing 3 spells cast in a turn to transform.
Looks like a Stormfleet swashbuckler there for Jensen.
Yeah, who does have
it, right.
Now.
So what he's doing is he's going to equip the Pirate's Cutlass to it. It will have double strike. It will also have enough power to safely gobble up the Relentless Raptor. Jensen knows that he's in a precarious spot, right? A removal spell kills him or puts him in a bad position, etc.
Now, the thing is, Jensen really needs to finish this game off quickly because of that Blasting Cannons. As the game progresses, Brian's eventually going to hit his lands, get more value out of that.
What are the players talking about here? All right. All right, here's Vance's Blasting Cannons. It reveals a mountain. That's not going to do anything for Brian here, though it does get a mountain off the top of his library that he may not have wanted. And again, a precarious position for Jensen. This is where he just crosses his fingers and says, hold the baby, hoping that he doesn't just die here.
Well, remember, the Raptor has to attack, is obligated to attack and block every turn. So currently it's a chump attack.
No, I know, but he needs that to stay that way, right? if Brian goes, kill your swashbuckler, Jensen's in trouble.
I think I see an Atali Primal Storm in Brian's hand. And he did draw another land for the turn as well, so he's going to have 5.
All right, well, this is a nice play here from Brian. Even though he whiffed off of the Vance's Blasting Cannons, he is going to play 2 spells this turn, and they're both two little 2-drops on the ground that will attack with 3 power next turn if everything survives. But Jensen also is threatening a lot of damage.
Right. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Jensen attack here.
Yeah.
Because that'll be 8 points of double striking power.
Look at this. Everything in from Jensen. So Kitesail Corsair trigger.
It's not even a trigger. If it's attacking, it's flying.
Okay. But it's in. So that's in for 2 to put him to 10. That means that Brian must block something.
Right.
You hear Jensen ask Owen, did you win game 1? He says, yeah, it was easy, no problem. We watched it, though, and it was not easy, to say the least. Now, remember, Jensen's top decking. Like, if you're Brian and you've done your homework on the format, you can really kind of think, well, what's my worst-case scenario here out of blue-red? And he's going to make a block that he didn't have to make, but is a fine block, I assume.
Yeah, he wasn't dead to something like a Buccaneers Bravado or an Unfriendly Fire.
Oh, a Deadeye Rig Hauler for Jensen is going to send Brian Rowland back into the Stone Age. No creatures on board. Now, one thing that you'll see from Brian, and a reason why he may have wanted to block, well, that's a one-turn late bombard, is because, he's the one who has Vance's blasting cannons. It's actually in his best interest to make this game go longer.
Exactly.
If he could just say, I'll trade 3 cards out of my hand for your 3 creatures, he would do it in a heartbeat.
I think that might be
he has a baffling end as
in
well.
His hand, though. That's really good for Brian.
Wait a minute. He might actually be able to just start trading everything off.
Exactly. He gets to at least get rid of the Double Striker and the 3/2 Rig Hauler, just leaving that Kite Sail Courser. Or maybe he figures that the Flyer is more important and he might deal.
Yeah, it depends on what kind of creatures he has. Yeah, he might just take out the Corsair. Here's Baffling End.
It does indeed take out the Corsair.
All right, so we're going to see the 3/2 Deadeye Rig Hauler as the last creature standing.
But that's still a 2-turn clock.
It is, and he is going to need some way to interact with it. It can even just be a block. Oh, look at this from Jensen. He finds a Stormfleet Sprinter. That's 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that's game. It's, in fact, a match going to Jensen. Well, when you're the world champ.
Yeah. That was the
bada
thing.
Bing.
Brian just stumbled a few turns. And I think the important part of that game was that Jensen knew when to turn on the gas. He realized, if I turn on the gas, Brian is going to need to make some blocks here, or at least make him think, what could I have to finish this game? Why would I attack if I'm facing down so many creatures? So, love Jensen's play there. That Unfriendly Fire was not friendly enough for Brian, it seems. And
Brian was so close. Like that bombard the turn prior puts him way ahead.
Right.
The Unfriendly Fire, if he had a mountain, would have been the game.
Yep.
Instead, Jensen's just like, kill you instead.
So Reed Duke versus Mario Lillard here. Oh, wow. Yeah, Mario has a very strong-looking Vampires deck from the look of things.
Yes, this does look pretty good. Though it looks like Reed is managing to handle the board pretty well on his own.
Yeah, so it looked like there what Reed did was kill the Champion of Dusk with the trigger on the stack with a Reckless Rage there. So Mario was not able to draw as many cards.
Here's a good draw here from Reed Duke. Commune with Dinosaurs, late in the game when you're looking for action, this is definitely a card that he'll like to see. Now, he also needs, it looks like a second green Mana Source, although I wonder where he got the mana to play the Armasaur there.
Might have been a treasure, yeah. It looks like he has a Brazen Freebooter potentially in his graveyard.
Okay, yeah, that would do it.
I think the most important card on this battlefield right now is the Forerunner of the Empire, though, on Reed Duke's side. That card is just one of the best uncommons, I think, in the format. At least one of the better Forerunners for sure, and all the Forerunners are great. The fact that there are so many X1s, the format is so aggressive that even just playing one dinosaur and doing 1 damage to everything can often be the difference in a game.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see that on Reed's side of the battlefield, his creatures are unaffected by that damage. He's got a pair of 3/3s, a 1/3, and an 0/4.
In fact, that Armasaur actually comboed quite nicely with the Forerunner, at least giving him a fresh token every time if he wanted that.
Those are actually Saplings. I was wrong. It does affect his board.
Yeah.
Thought that those were 3/3 dinos, but slight downgrade.
The issue is Mario just drew so many cards, though, from that Champion of Dusk. That's going to be so hard for Reed to really get back in this.
6 cards in his hand right now?
It looks like it.
Yeah, that's going to make things very difficult for Duke. Though he is up a game right now, so he has the ability to give up a game here and still come back and win his match. And there's Skullduggery in combination with a triple block on the Voracious Vampire, and that's, I mean, I'd call it disastrous. It was a 2-for-1,
right?
But I think Reed was fine giving that up. He still has a Saproling left.
Oh, the Vampire doesn't die, though.
No.
Right. Okay, I see what you mean.
Just
two for one, yeah.
Skullduggery, yeah. But here's a Colossal Dreadmaw now for Reed Duke, and all of a sudden that's the biggest thing on the battlefield by a fair bit.
That's one of the creatures that we've seen.
God, he still has 6 cards going down to 5?
I mean, Black-White has so many removal spells that can deal with the Colossal Dreadmaw.
Yeah,
and we're probably going to see something here from Mario, although he did just use an Impale on the previous turn, so it's possible that he is a little bit out of gas. But even then, what's in his hand? I don't see many lands, so it's either creatures or spells. So
another Vampire here from Mario Lillard. And he's going to smash in there with Famish Paladin for 4.
Yeah, and on the surface of things, Reed's going to be thinking, okay, maybe he has another trick here, because Reed could just block with, say, the Gleaming Barrier and the Colossal Dreadmaw, or the Saproling and the Colossal Dreadmaw, and that's a really good trade for Reed.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I would assume Mario has something here. He had a Skullduggery in the previous turn.
I think that Reed is going to assume that as well. Now, the question is, does he have the luxury of either playing around it or just sort of sucking it up? And he is actually going to play around it a little bit here. This is just simply a trade, like a preventing damage scenario here.
And the nice thing for Reed is that if Mario doesn't have another way to gain life, that Famished Paladin is going to stay tapped for a little while.
That's right. Exalted Sky Marcher is the follow-up play there for Mario Lillard. Little 2-3 with flying. That thing can start chipping in. But truth told, even with the card advantage engine that Mario has employed here, Reed's still at 15.
Sure.
So he's still hanging in there, though he does need to make another couple of plays like the one he made last turn, you know, adding 5 or a 6 drop to the table to really swing the tide back in his favor. But still, he could do it.
Oh my, Burning Sun's Avatar. That's the play here from Reed. And yeah, he's going to go in the red zone. His creatures are just so much larger than Mario's. This is one of the nice things about playing a larger creature deck as opposed to a smaller tribal deck. If you survive till the later game, your creatures are just going to outclass the opponents. And we can see that here. Reed has 2 6/6s on the battlefield, one of them which tramples. It's also getting in the red zone right now, and Mario's just left with a bunch of 2/2s, a 1/1, a 3/3 that doesn't untap.
Well, I asked for back-to-back 6 drops, and I got it.
There you go.
And one was even better than the other. So Mario Lillard down to 5 life, and really needs to take advantage of the extra cards that he has.
Yeah, the problem is, again, even if he drew all these extra cards, if he drew 3 2/2s, well, that just trades for one of Reed's 6/6s, you know? Now, I did see, I think, a Vampire Zeal in Mario's hand, which is why he made that previous attack.
You know what else he has in his hand?
Enlighten us.
I think he has Settle the Wreckage in his hand.
Ah.
I thought I saw it, and then I looked on his list, and he has one, so I'm going to say yes, I think he has Settle the Wreckage. And this could get ugly.
This could get really ugly. Because Marshall, there aren't that many packs now to get a Settle the Wreckage.
No.
You're thinking more Divine Verdict now when your opponent's holding up 4 mana and one of them happens to be a white, or even 2 of them happen to be a white. So
it's even bit worse because they
exactly.
Okay, but Reed doesn't even attack at all.
It's possible Reed maybe saw it in game 1.
That is absolutely possible. Yeah, we were watching Owen Turtenwald play against Daniel Lee in game 1, so we don't know for sure. But that was an interesting no attack there from Duke.
Well, Duke knows at the very least Mario has some combat trick in his hand. Maybe.
Yeah, but he could trade 2 creatures and a combat trick for the Dreadmaw.
Is this a 7-mana card of, oh my, a splashed Tishana, Marshall.
Oh my god, Tishana Voice of Thunder to draw 7 cards?
And you know what? So the interesting thing
now he can just throw his stuff away, right?
The interesting thing about Tishana is that if she's the last card in your hand you cast, she will die instantly with her trigger on the stack. But Marshall, Reed had 1 more card left over, so he's going to keep a huge creature in addition to drawing that many other cards.
That is absurd. So she's going to be an 8/8 now.
Just like that, Champion of Dusk looking a little bit frail compared to that Tishana. Wow.
Oh my goodness. Now what is Mario supposed to do? I mean, sure, he can fire off the Settle the Wreckage on, like, the first assault, but he's going to be facing down some serious beef coming up.
All right, well, here comes the big attack from Reed, and I think Mario should almost certainly just use the Settle here while he can.
Yeah, and there it is. Settle the Wreckage from Mario Lillard. So those 3 creatures are going to get exiled. Reed can replace them with tapped lands. Tap basics from his library, which is... well, not quite as good as Colossal Dreadmaw.
Yeah, sure.
But the Tishana Voice of Thunder is an absolutely critical piece of the puzzle now, because without having reloaded, Mario could easily find himself ahead. I mean, look at the board minus Tishana. You know, Reed would be on a card.
Do you see how many cards are left in Reed's library?
Yeah, he stripped away a bunch of them. I got to figure he's able to power through, though. But, Kenji, I have to go back to something that you mentioned a few minutes ago that's really been true, which is late game, Reed's deck has just cleanly outpaced Mario's. Right? You said, hey, you know, you get to the late game and all of a sudden you're going to have some much better stuff going, and boy, has that been the case. He went Colossal Dreadmaw, Burning Sun's Avatar, Tishana. Nice 3 turns, Reed.
Well, this is going to be an important turn here for Mario if he has a removal spell for that Tishana. Reed doesn't have much in the way of creatures currently anymore, so if he can force in some damage by getting rid of Tishana this turn, then maybe he can kind of equalize the position. I think maybe a minor misstep from Mario the previous turn when Reed attacked. He kind of just instantly fired off the Settle Wreckage. I think in that position with Reed having mana open, he might have wanted to make some blocks first.
Like quadruple block something.
See if Reed uses like a Sure Strike to get an extra card out of his hand and then use the Settle Wreckage, because there's no downside to that.
One question. Famished Paladin untapped. How?
I don't think he gained any life, right? All he did was Settle the Wreckage.
Maybe we could ask about it. Because that should not be...
I think Reed just caught it right now.
Did, yeah. Yeah, they're going to need to call a judge again. The problem is that Mario untapped it again. He had untapped it earlier and was reminded, hey...
Right.
And then he did it again, I believe. Like...
Mario's taking his turn.
Yeah, they're going to mention it to the judge here. We're all over it, though, Kenji, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, it was just Settle the Wreckage, and Reed played his Thematic Compass and transformed it, so...
Well, I've been in the booth long enough, though, to ask rather than...
Sure.
Because you just... Sometimes it's like, oh, no, he played this, and, you know, it blocked, and it gained a lot. You know, just one of those little... But I don't remember him gaining
No,
life,
he did not.
Yeah. The real question to me is, does he still have to target the Famished Paladin with the Sanguine Glorifier trigger?
Yeah, and we'll have to see what the judge says here.
Yeah, I would think that you would rewind it and have that be tapped and then put the Sanguine Glorifier in, though don't know for sure.
And notably the counter on the Famished Paladin, maybe not too relevant.
I mean, it might matter. Like, I don't, you know, I doubt it would.
We're still putting Mario on having a Vampire Zeal in his hand, so maybe he was planning on attacking with that Paladin into the Tishana.
How big is Tishana now, do you think? 6'6"? 7'7"?
I think it's a little bit smaller. I think it... So he drew 7.
It's 6.
Yeah, he drew 7 with Tishana.
But up to 8, played a land.
Played a land, and then played the Compass, right.
So, should be 6'6".
Yeah. Which would, again, be
That's
relevant
the right
for the
size. Yeah.
Famished Paladin with the Vampire Zeal on it.
It would be.
Yeah, what a swingy game this has been.
It looks like they're taking a few minutes to work this one out. We may just switch back over to Owen Turnwald. I mean, I want to see this one, but if the you know, we don't want to watch nothing.
Right.
So it will jump over if we have the chance to. If they do resolve it, then we'll fix here. Then we'll stay here if they can. All right.
Oh my
boy.
This is the
all
reverse.
right, Mr. Expert.
Well, I see a lot of vampires on the left and a lot of merfolk on the right.
That's right. This is a classic Ixalan fight here. We have that for sure.
Oh, Waker of the Wilds, though, on Daniel's side is probably going to start taking over this game as
yeah, he got to untap with it.
Are these life totals correct, Marshall?
What the? It's 44-2? Wow. And there's a grazing whiptail for Daniel Lee, who looks like he's just desperately trying to stay alive.
Okay, so it looks like that sun-crested pterodon on the bottom there with the Squire's Devotion had been pecking in.
That was the lethal one. It looks like Daniel's going to just add 2 more counters to that island using his Waker.
Yeah. Okay, Daniel actually has it looks like a 3/4 Siren's Lookout as well. So he has multiple creatures that can block the 3/6 lifelinking dino over there. Now remember, Daniel can stack multiple counters or multiple pump effects from the Waker of the Wilds onto a single land.
Yeah, he already did that.
Yep.
Yeah, that one had 2/2, and then he was threatening to attack for more. But Turtenwald just looks like he's content to just block and trade there as he floods out a bit here. The last 2 turns, all we've seen him do is play a land.
Daniel doesn't mind flooding out as much when he has that Waker of the Wilds, but he does need to find, I guess, some interaction would make him feel really safe.
Is that Nezahal?
It definitely looks like it. The thing is, I don't know if Nezahal is all that great here. Okay, well, maybe if Owen's trading off his Death Toucher for
it was a Direfleet Poisoner once again just doing the Ambush Viper routine. And he just sort of chips away at his lens. And that is Nezahal Primal Tide now on the battlefield. Lots of text on that card. The most relevant text is whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, draw a card.
And I think that's going to be the most important piece here.
Definitely.
Because now if Owen tries to do anything cute, say a removal spell or another enchantment, Daniel at
Glorifier of Dusk
cards.
That's a really nice draw, though, right? Like, is there any other flying blockers besides the
Grazing Whiptail?
The Whiptail?
Oh, no, he has the 3/4 Siren Lookout. So Daniel can make a double block. And if either of those dies, Daniel can still block the 3-power Sun-Crested Pterodon with the other one.
Yep.
He has 2 3/4s that can block, so.
Now, wait a minute, though. But if Owen attacks with both, he's required to block both, and one will die.
Correct.
Still doesn't really get Owen quite where he needs to go, though, does it?
Well, Owen does have to pay 2 life, to give his
go down to
Glorifier
42,
flying.
But it does chip away at one of the blockers at least, and means that if Owen can find a removal spell to kill the other, then the Sun-Crested Pterodon would finish off Daniel Lee. But he's at the mercy of the top of his library here. Still, you got to think that was a pretty good draw for Turtenwald to Glorifier.
Certainly. Yeah. Besides something that outright kills Daniel, I think that was probably the best.
Daniel probably better off just keep the flyer here. Owen shouldn't have anything that cares about only flyers. Right. There's no plummet. Is he going to double block?
Okay, so it looks like Daniel probably has a Crashing Tide or something in his hand.
Yeah, it looks like it's Depths of Desire instead. So he's going to send that back to hand. And he still gets to trade, though. So Turtenwald is still producing some amount of value here, even though he'll have to use up some mana. So, very good for Daniel Lee to be able to keep both of his, to be able to take down the Glorifier with that block. He didn't need a pump spell or anything like that.
Another thing is Daniel's going to be able to attack with some more ground creatures here in the very near future. Like, Owen has a bunch of 1/1s.
42 life.
And a 3/3. Well, sure, but, Nezahal's 7 by itself.
Tick-tock.
He has multiple 3/3s as well. It's not hard to imagine a world where, Daniel can finish off Owen in a few attacks.
Oh, Owen's going to survey the wreckage here and see, okay.
I think Daniel might also have a negate in his hand that he drew for the turn. Kind of hard. Oh, maybe it's a Kite Sail Corsair.
It is a Corsair, that's right, yeah. You know what else I think he might have?
What's that?
Maybe a Tempest Caller?
Okay, and you know what? If he spends enough turns...
Could he attack for like 30?
if he spends enough turns just making a land very large, which he has shown to do, it's not going to take much for him to win this game.
Land go from Turtenwald.
And you know what? Land's not a bad draw here for Daniel. Again, that's an extra power every turn with the Waker of the Wilds. Marshall, if you're right about that Tempest Caller, Daniel Lee might be able to pull this out from a 44-2 deficit.
He has, I believe, 26 power right now. And that's without activating anything else on the land.
Looks like Owen is starting to chump away his Dusk-Legion Zealots.
Yeah, he chumped with the token last time. He has another token he can jump with. He's down to 31. And there's the Corsair. If he activates and Owen bricks, he puts a bunch of counters on another land or on the same land, he could swing for lethal next turn.
Ooh, that changes things a little bit, though.
Golden Guardian from Turtenwald.
That's actually really good versus the Tempest Caller because he's able to produce 4/4 golems after the Tempest Caller trigger has resolved.
I mean, how is he going to do it, though? He has to kill 2 of his creatures.
Well, he can fight like the Sanguine Glorifier and the Dusk-Legion Zealot. That's better than just outright dying, right?
Sure. Yeah, of course it's better than dying, but still a sticky spot here from Turtenwald.
All right, another land from Daniel. So Nezahal and the 8/8 land are almost certainly getting in for this turn, although maybe he just wants to sit back now. Looks like they're just doing a little math here with the Tempest Caller.
Yeah, making sure it's enough and thinking about maybe could we play a round 1 spell, or is there any reason for us to do this now?
Well, I mean, what he can also do is just kind of get in for a lot of damage, but not necessarily an all-out attack. If he plays Tempest Caller, maybe swings in with 5 of his largest creatures. He can then put Owen in a position where he has to effectively chump multiple creatures on the following turn.
Owen was explaining how the Golden Guardian worked. And it is a bit of a tricky interaction.
Yep.
I think a lot of people, when they initially read the card, read it as when this dies, transform it.
Correct.
But you actually have to fight and have it die, which is what he's going to do here.
And you see it fought that Deathless Ancient that was actually sitting on the side or there with the water knot on it.
Mm-hmm. And he's going to go ahead and activate it right away as well. Still, things not looking good for Turtenwald, although look at that update. We do have an update now from the Reed Duke versus Mario Lillard match, and that is 2-0, 2-0 in matches for both William Jensen and Reed Duke. And that means the round does go to the Peach Garden Oath, though it looks like the players are going to play it out for us for a couple of minutes here as well. Maybe Owen wanting to get the clean 6-0 sweep,
Yep.
But it does look like Daniel Lee's in a position to win this game still, potentially. This one does not look like it's just over, right?
Not quite yet. It's going to be pivotal on what Owen can draw on the next turn, because Daniel, again, can put Owen in a position where even a 4/4 at instant speed is not good enough to save the day.
Yeah, if Owen can make a couple of more golems and attack with them, he can force some real issues. All right, well, it looks like that was it. So that's the round going to the Peach Garden Oath,
Right.
With the clean sweep there. And they're going to hand Daniel Lee, Brian, and Mario their first loss of the tournament. Welcome back to the booth here. That's Kenji Higashira, Marshall Sutcliffe. Thanks so much for coming along with us for the pro show here at GP Indianapolis. We got a bunch of sick pro teams, which we're going to be covering through the course of the middle part of the day before we kind of move our way into the end part of the day there. Now, for now, we're actually getting interview set up right now. Oh, it's ready right now. Let's head down. Let's have a quick chat here with Reed Duke. Hey, Reed, how's it going, buddy?
Hey, Marshall, how are you?
I've got Kenji Higashira with me as well, and we had a little bit down the stretch. What happened near the end there of your game?
Oh, we had a really cool game, too. It was one of those long ones where you're kind of playing with, like, every card in your deck. I cast Tishana and drew a bunch of cards, but then Mario had a really good defense with lifelink creatures, and he cast Settle the Wreckage when I finally did make a big attack. So then we had to set back up, and I played Ixali's Keeper the one that can give +5/+5 and trample.
Yeah.
And then finally, once I was able to punch a creature through with that, I won the game.
Okay, yeah, because when we were watching, we saw that he was holding the Settle the Wreckage and was kind of waiting for that moment for you to attack. But then the turn before you did, you drew 7 cards, and he's like, oh no. Because he knows, hey, I'm going to be able to survive with Settle. But Tishana was so important for you because when we came in, you were behind, and then you played 6-drop, 6-drop, Tishana, and really kind of stabilize from there.
Yeah, definitely. Part of my strategy in that game was I didn't want to make a big attack. I didn't want to have any fireworks until after I could play Tishana, because if I risk losing a bunch of creatures, then it really makes her a lot less powerful.
How about your guys' decks? You know, this is the first time that we got you in the booth here. We're doing the pro show, and we wanted to start things off with the professionals, the PGO. How do you guys feel about your decks?
We're quite happy. Huey has a blue-red deck, and Owen has white-black. Those were the colors where we had our really powerful multicolored cards, so kind of no-brainers. And then it was like, hey, Reed, build a deck out of all the rest of the cards. But I have good stuff, too, so all around, we're pretty happy.
Okay, I want to ask you the same question, but in a slightly different frame. How does Owen feel about the decks?
Owen actually has not finished any of his matches yet, but he likes his deck and he's playing well, so we're optimistic.
Okay, well, good luck, Reed. Thanks for taking the time, and hopefully you guys will run it up as you always do. All right, Kenji, so we got a chance to talk to Reed there. They seem like they're pretty happy with their decks. And that is not good news for everybody else in the field here.
Not at all.
As you know, they're already good enough to win with kind of mediocre or okay decks. If you give them good decks, it's just usually lights out. All right, so we've got Time Walk Magic coming up for you, but first, these messages.